Hello, welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 196. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who entered his chihuahua in the ugliest dog contest and he won first place. The dog came third. Tony bloody Dan.
Ding, ding, ding. Good afternoon, sir.
How the diddly devil are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I've missed you.
I know. We've had a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is because it's a mid-year break, mid-season break. Also, both of us haven't been particularly well over the last couple of weeks or so. So, apologies, because I'm sure that this has been well and truly missed.
We've been tucked up in bed together, chicken soup.
Social distancing, mate. Everybody haven't.
It's a big queen size bed for two big queens.
Yeah, we've been tops and tails, so it cancels out the virus, doesn't it?
That's how it works, isn't it? I had my jab the other day. My first vaccine jab, I believe yours. Have you had yours, or have you've booked it?
No, mine is this Saturday.
This
mate.
Saturday.
So yeah, a few days until I can get mine done. How are you feeling afterwards?
I was all right. I was okay.
Side effects?
I had a bit of an achy arm. That's about it.
Yeah. It's all the tracking devices that Bill Gates put in you.
I've got 5G now though, so my internet's
caught in your eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy that we had on the Elmo video.
Oh my god, yeah, remember that guy? It feels like a lifetime ago.
But no, I was okay with it. Zoe had hers today. She feels a little bit shitty, but
yeah,
it's also been like 24 degrees, so it could be the heat as well.
I mean, to be fair, the heat's really. So let's just get this out there, because I will forget about this in a couple of years. So it'd be good to have a record of it somewhere, I suppose. But
when the weather was nice.
No, I've had I had a headache basically that lasted about a month before I saw a specialist. And I've had an MRI, my very first MRI. I'm very excited to get the pictures. You know, like when I got my hand X-rayed and I got a picture of the X-ray.
I thought you meant like you'd been on Nemesis or something. He's like,
no, I physically had my hand X-rayed. And I asked for a copy of the picture because I was like, I've never had a medical thing before, so why not? Yeah. And I've got a copy of that, and it's quite cool. A brain scan though, that one I've definitely not had done. You said you've had an MRI before, didn't you?
I've had an MRI, yeah.
Well, it felt like, if you imagine, this isn't the case obviously, but if you imagine that like probably X-Men 2 style. If you think like you've got like a tiny amount of metal in your bloodstream, hugely tiny percentage, it felt like this machine had sucked the entirety of my brain to the front of my forehead.
Wow.
Now, I'm sure that was absolutely nothing to do with the magnetic field. It was purely the fact that it was loud and it was vibrating constantly for like 20 minutes. And it was a very bright day as well. So coming home after that, I was just like, that is the worst thing I've ever happened. Like, my brain is absolutely fucking mushed. But like, they go through this whole thing, which is obviously makes perfect sense, but it's just like, have you ever had a pacemaker? Have you got any metal implants in you? Have you had any bones break or whatever? So I haven't. There's no metal in me at all. But all I could think of, and I blame the X-Files for this, is what if I put my head inside an MRI machine and I have had some kind of surgery at some point, and there's a little metal pin or a little staple or something that's been left in there that I don't remember, or maybe something when I was a kid. Maybe I didn't tell my mom about this because she's got enough to worry about as it is. But if she had a fucking staple put in my head, I didn't know about it, and then sat in an MRI machine.
Well, I assume the doctors, they'll do some kind of background into your medical history.
I filled in a questionnaire.
No, beforehand. I mean, like, because I'll be honest, I don't even remember being asked any of that.
This is a private clinic, though. This wasn't through the NHS. They wouldn't have had my medical records.
I suppose, yeah.
So all I could think of going into this thing, because I'm not claustrophobic or anything, it was actually quite nice, apart from the mad headache that I had afterwards. But all I could think of was, if I've got something in my brain that's going to kill me immediately, because it's going to go thwink and just rip out through my skull, how long is that going to take? Is it going to be instant? and I'll be like, oh my god, pain, and then squeeze the thing, and then they'll stop it, or is it going to like build and build and build and build and build, and then my eye's going to pop out? So I thought it's going to be a big, powerful, mad powerful magnet. It's going to be immediate, I reckon. So they, sat me down, put me in the little cage, and I was like, all good to go, confirm date of birth and all that. And then they turned the machine on, and I went, oh, thank God. Because I was like, right, in 3 seconds, if I'm not dead and my head hasn't exploded, there's definitely no metal in me, and that's fine. But it was quite exciting. Again, not for the right reasons, but I've not had much medical stuff done. But since that, though, I've been taking some prescription pain management tablets just to kind of help me sleep, which have really fucking worked. But they're not like, it's not like, OxyContin or fucking Vicodin or morphine or something like that. It's just, it's not something that you could just take through the day just to take a bit of an edge off, if you know what I mean.
Puts you out a bit.
Yeah, but the headaches, for the most part, have started to subside.
Touch wood.
Yeah, because I think the last time that I could really kind of do anything with you was when we had the lovely Todd on. Because I remember after we did that interview, we finished that podcast up, my head was fucking banging. And I think it's because, first I was excited because, it was a cool looking interview and I was looking forward to getting through it. I didn't want to reschedule it because obviously that can cause more problems, whatever. So I was like, well, I'll just power through. And Jesus Christ, I felt terrible afterwards. And I think that was probably the last time we actually...
That's the last time we filmed anything together.
I think so, mate.
I was getting stuff ready for obviously this podcast, and I can't remember what number we were on, and I jumped on, and obviously the last one was with Todd, and I was like, fucking hell, that was like nearly 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a shit show, frankly, but it's nice to have a little break every now and then as well. So
I've managed to play Days Gone, so
as have I. So we can have a little catch up on what we've been playing and doing in the meantime. But I'm assuming that you've got something you want to talk to me about.
I have, Dan. This week's episode is brought to you by Papalook and the PA930 HDR 2K webcam. Stay tuned for more information later on in the podcast, and visit podcastversusplayer.com to see more. We'll talk about it later on, Dan. Anyway, some relevant movie news, Dan. Sony Pictures president Sanford Panich recently spoke with Variety about the company's use of Marvel characters in their Spider-Man movies, including their plans for the story going forward. So,
story.
Very fucking loosely used. Where are we? Panich described their possession of Marvel characters as a Marvel universe, as opposed to looking at it as the Spideyverse. He even teased what fans should expect to see in the company's next movie, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, hinting that people, quote, don't miss Spider-Man in the story. We don't really think of our 900 characters as the Spideyverse. We have a Marvel universe. The volume of characters we have, wait until you see this next Venom. You won't miss Spider-Man. Very tough words, I'll just point out. I think we will miss Spider-Man.
Well, as soon as you're talking about a Spider-Man villain that has no Spider-Man, like Joker didn't need to have Batman in it, but I miss Batman being in it.
Yeah.
Because I want to see Batman beat the living shit out of him for a bit.
I actually saw, just before we carry on with this particular story, I saw a thing the other day from, I think it was IGN. Boo.
What's wrong with IGN?
They gave Days Gone a shit review.
Oh, right, okay.
No, it's... they basically said it could have been GameSpot, but I'm pretty sure it was IGN. But it was reasons why Venom doesn't need Spider-Man, and basically the main reason was for one of the. Have you read any of the latest Venom comics from like the last 5 years?
Absolutely not.
So basically, there's been an ongoing storyline where we've got a oh man, I can't remember his name. No. It doesn't matter. You got this big bad, right? Who's basically, he kicked Thanos' ass and fucking pretty much anybody in most of the Marvel universe. And he is, he's the creator of the symbiotes, unless we're going on the Sony movies, symbiotes.
Symbiotes.
He's basically just this big fucking super badass, and blah 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 blah. And they're using that as a reason to say Venom would still exist without Spider-Man, and he could. Like, the symbiote comes from Clintar, gets a host, becomes a big black symbiote villain or hero, whatever it's going to be. However, the Venom that we had and his origin was from it went to Spider-Man first. The symbiote got the powers of Spider-Man, and then when it went to Eddie Brock, that's why he had the big spider on his chest, which now, according to that story, isn't a spider, it's a symbiote dragon. Like a top-down view of a symbiote dragon. And it's just stupid. It's just basically going, we need something for Sony to maybe... This could be their Thanos coming through.
The Tom Hardy Venom, though, didn't have a spider.
It didn't have any of it, and it obviously... What I do think was very clever is, instead of having... Because obviously Spider-Man made his own webbing. He had the web fluid cartridges. When Venom took the powers and stuff, he could create his own unlimited webbing using the suit. And then in the movie, he used his just tendrils to basically web swing. And I thought that was quite clever. And I did like
But he doesn't really swing in that sense, though.
No, he just goes kind of like a grappling hook where he just goes...
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Shoot himself up and stuff. But I did think that was actually a very good representation of kind of working around that particular thing. But all of the interesting things about Venom, if it hasn't got anything to do with Spider-Man, it needs, like, Agent Venom is the better version of it, where he's just working for the government, going off doing cool missions and shit like that.
Because at the moment it's a journalist.
Yeah, and that's all we got.
He doesn't have beef with Spider-Man, and he wants to be better than Spider-Man or beat Spider-Man, or he doesn't have a purpose other than there's the guy, like the sort of the Mark Zuckerberg kind of guy who was testing this on people. And he's like, oh bloody hell, I'm not having any of that.
Yeah.
Then got the Venom suit and then killed Riot, and now he's just Venom and chilling out at the corner shop. There's just no rivalry. There's no intrigue that comes from it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Woody Harrelson as Cletus, because I think that is a really good fucking casting choice.
I think it's a very good casting choice. I just think it's from the trailer, I'm not looking forward to this movie.
I'm probably looking forward to it as much as I did the first one, which wasn't huge.
I don't know. I had reasonable expectations. So that when we saw that original trailer, and you see him when he's in the street and he's looking over the goon he's taken down, and he's like, I was like, Venom actually looks pretty fucking good. But then we've got you're just a turd in the wind blowing down the street. It's like, why a turd? Like, it makes no fucking... Why? That's a stupid fucking thing. And then in this, we've got the equivalent of this one, where he's making the fucking breakfast and his fucking tendrils are going and he's singing along to the song. It's like, fuck off. Just fuck off. There's so many comic books. Just throw a comic book at the wall. I just get a pile of them. Whichever one lands last, do that story. Just do it.
Right.
Like, we've got fucking Carnage. Why? Like, we get Carnage because they shared a cell together, and when the symbiote breaks Eddie out, a bit of it gets left behind and bonds with Cletus. On this one, it seems like he's got the electric chair.
It's just some rando.
Yeah.
Some rando murderer that wasn't talked about or met at all in the first one. It was just a post-credit sequence.
And his Ronald McDonald's hair's gone.
Oh, has he shaved it off or something?
It wasn't in the trailer. He had just shorter hair. Yeah, well, it was real hair.
He needs those like mad curls.
But it's I think Woody Harrelson. I think he's an excellent choice. I genuinely do. I just think it's the wrong movie for him. I think we just need to wait until the rights revert back to Disney. But
well, now that we're getting the Craven, Morbius, Venom averse, the stupidest characters that you want to try and base a multiverse off of, like a franchise. I mean,
how is this the same people that made Into the Spider-Verse?
Because the people who actually wrote and made Into the Spider-Verse were very good. And I think this is one of the times where Sony just let them do whatever they needed to do. But also, what's the one thing that a Venom movie, a second Venom movie, and a Craven movie would really benefit from?
I don't know. Spider-Man.
Maybe Spider-Man, yeah. And is Spider-Man going to be in any of these?
Well,
so far as we've seen, probably not.
Panich looked ahead at potential tie-ins with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and other Sony-produced Marvel franchises, saying that, quote, there actually is a plan, and it's getting a little more clear for people where the franchise is going. Sony Marvel Studios' Spider-Man No Way Home is even said to be a part of this, with Panich saying even more will be revealed upon this film's debut. It'll be exciting if they do meet, right? There actually is a plan. I think now maybe it's getting a little bit more clear. That's a quote.
I don't know.
So I have a feeling.
I think Tom Holland's character, like that charisma that comes from that character, will carry over quite well. Like, I think he's a really good Spider-Man. I watched Far From Home over the weekend, actually, as it's just popped up on Netflix for no reason. But I can't imagine him being written the same way. I just don't think that they can pull it off. I really don't. And it's a shame.
How big of a hand do Feige and the team have in the Spider-Man films?
I imagine that other than, if the contract rolls into the Sony Spider-Verse or whatever you want to call it, I reckon that's pretty much where their involvement would end.
Right.
Unless they have like some kind of direct input, because they're just like, look, we've actually spent a lot of money and a lot of time developing this specific Spider-Man. If you're saying that this Spider-Man that's been in Avengers and it's been to space and all that, if you're just using the same character and the same actor, but that they're not in any way, this isn't the Spider-Man that we've seen in Homecoming and Far From Home. If it's not that Spider-Man, I reckon they stop dead right there and just be like, he's all yours now. Whatever you want to do with him, that's fine.
Similar to what they did before they reached an amicable agreement.
Yeah, but then, like half of Peter Parker's driving force in the MCU is Tony Stark, and the meeting of that character and their kind of relationship, and then the loss of that character and how he becomes someone more, does he become that new Tony Stark?
Yeah.
And then they would never be able to talk about him, because that means that would be the same Spider-Man.
Tony Stank.
Tony Fark. Yeah. It just, I don't know, I can't imagine them just having any kind of connection. If they do, I'll be very surprised. But then that would mean that Venom would be able to come into the MCU, and it just, I can't imagine that ever happening.
I remember seeing that interview with Kevin Feige and I forgot the woman from Sony, and somebody asks the question about Venom being part of the MCU, and she, obviously this woman from Sony, she's just like, I can't remember the exact direct quote, but it's basically, it's like, yeah, we see obviously Venom as part of the MCU. They just haven't got around to meeting the characters yet. And then like Kevin Feige's like obviously sat next to me, just like,
it's like, nope, we haven't agreed to that.
That wasn't on the cards. But what are you betting though? It's just going to be, you're saying like, well, you wait until you see this movie and everything will be a lot more clearer, and it'll be like going through different, obviously we already know this is going to be about like different dimensions and stuff. One of those dimensions we just see Eddie Brock, and then it just goes to like the next scene. Okay, see, canon.
it's just gonna cut, and it's gonna be Tom Hardy sat in that lobster tank. Yeah. Just going. That's what we think of yours.
But I think that's where if they are going down the Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire route with this new movie, like you're going to have a lot of people are very familiar with these films, so they are going to have that excitement there and going, hey, you've got all these different Spider-Mans running around on the screen and that, and maybe Emma Stone as a part in it as well, and Kirsten Dunst. And I think it's an interesting way to do it. Whether or not they do it's a different story. And then obviously we've got
Shang-Chi.
Yeah. I will say, I believe on the last podcast we did, we briefly mentioned, because I hadn't watched the trailer at that point.
Oh, did you not?
And no. I remember saying not that excited about it, to be honest. It's one of the characters that I've never really followed much in the comics, and then we left we left the podcast, went our separate ways because she called me an idiot, and I watched the trailer, and I'm probably looking forward to that more than any other film this year.
I'm looking forward to that more than Doctor Strange 2.
It looks fucking phenomenal.
Like I know because of like the sort of the trouncing that they would have gotten after like Iron Fist, where it's supposed to be this absolute martial arts master.
Yeah.
It's just like he's barely going one-on-one with a few people, and Daredevil, a blind man, kick the shit out of him. So they need to really step their game up. And with this one, it looks like it's just going to be all martial arts all day long.
Have you watched the Mr. Sunday Movies breakdown on the Shang-Chi trailer?
I don't think so.
It's hilarious. Like,
oh, really?
You're basically touching on about Iron Fist, and he's saying like obviously the closest we've got in the MCU. Within the Marvel universe, so will be the Netflix series
like a mystic
Iron
fighter.
Fist, yeah. And he's he said obviously you can tell the difference between this guy who's playing like he's a trained martial artist, and he said just like the guy who played Iron Fist, and then it goes off onto shows you a clip, but it's where he's training the kids in the dojo, and he's got a stick, and he just goes.
He's just doing a bit of Tai Chi or something.
And like every time he mentions it, he's like, just like Iron Fist, and then it just cuts back to
him not being impressive whatsoever.
But I can't think of anything worse. Why get fucking... Here's a character who's phenomenal, who's known for being like a phenomenal martial artist. Let's get a guy who doesn't know martial arts.
I'd say that, yeah, I wouldn't really care if they went, well, it does, we need a white guy to play Danny Rand. So we've got this white guy who doesn't know anything about martial arts. We've got this Asian guy who is trained in martial arts. We've got this black guy who's, whatever the actress's name is who played Colleen.
Yeah.
Someone who knows martial arts. If they just said, do you want any of these who can actually fight properly, at least for screen purposes, they can fight well? Or do you want this guy who will have to train for the next 5 weeks to make sure he can do some cool Tai Chi moves or whatever? I'd be like, fuck him off straight away. Literally any of the others. Anyone who can have a fight and look impressive. Like, I can't remember the name of the guy who's been cast as Shang-Chi. But he terrifies me. Because, like, there's that bit on, like, the train. He's, like, on a bus or something like that. And then he punches two guys in the face at the same time and then kicks them both in the face at the same time as well. I was like, that's not human. No one can do that. Well, that's not okay.
Obviously, when it's like gone up on its side and that woman's falling out, and he's like hit them, kicked them, and then he grabs her by like the scruff of the. It's like a proper Jackie Chan-esque move, and it just looks so good. I like it because it looks nothing like any Marvel films we've had. Like even down to the colours and stuff, like the. I
think it's like it's going to be like one of those things of like it kind of actually it harkens back a little bit to an episode of Young Justice, I think. I think it's in like second season of Young Justice where like Superboy joins the team, and they're all training and robbing, and I think Black Canary's training them all, and they're all fighting her, and Superboy's just like, I don't need to do this. Like I'm Superboy, I'm super strong and whatever, and this is pointless for me. And then Black Canary just like whips him over and just slams him straight on his back, and she's like, clearly you do. Like just because you're like super big and super strong, what does that mean if you can't actually beat someone in a fight? And it feels like
how would she do
Shang-Chi? It's just sort of like it's maneuvering someone's weight. So firstly, he wasn't obviously expecting her to actually do it or pull it off. As soon as he's off his feet, he's gone then, isn't he? And then just pow down on the floor. But I get the sense that Shang-Chi would be able to like go up against Falcon or Iron Man or do you know what I mean? And he would just kick the living shit out of them.
Well, you have to remember, like there's a I remember reading a thing about why Bucky's a better fit for the Shield than Falcon is. Mostly, but
he's a super soldier.
Yeah, it's basically just going on. He's a super soldier, but unlike Steve Rogers, he's actually had. So Steve's obviously trained over many years, etc., for fighting styles and this, that, and the other. Whereas Bucky he's been trained to fight and to be an assassin and blah 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 blah. And well, I agree with it all and everything. I still think Falcons are still perfect. He's a better Captain America candidate, just in terms of his values and core ethics and this, that, and the other. But
yeah, and the right combination of words may or may not turn him into a murderous psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. But with where was I going with this? Fighting and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If like as good as Bucky and Captain America was as fighters, you put them against somebody like Shang-Chi. They're not going to win.
Correctly, Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, as it should be. But
yeah,
again,
like,
as we saw in the Defenders, he got beat by a blind guy. He got beat by
literally everybody. But it should be like no one should be a challenge for him. Like he's just sort of like he's been trained since he was a child to be the best. Like he's fought a dragon.
Well, that's how they got around it, though, wasn't it? That he's not in control of his power. Like he basically
don't do a show on him. Then
he has to carry a power bank with him. And it's like
to charge it.
To charge
performance
his fist
issues.
Yeah.
One in every 10 men. Yeah, performance issues with their fists. But it's I guess it's not really like sort of like Superman side, like because it should be any normal person, rando, street thug, whatever, wouldn't stand a chance.
No.
They just wouldn't stand a chance. But you put him up against Captain Marvel, then no, he's going to get the living shit kicked out.
Oh yeah,
there's nothing he could do about that.
You know, someone like Thanos, where Thanos is obviously he's strong anyway, even without the Infinity Gauntlet. He's a good fighter and stuff, but obviously he's got that discipline as well. But how would Iron Fist go in up against like somebody like the Hulk?
I don't know, because I think that he's got the speed, he's got the reflexes, that kind of stuff. The Iron Fist is the most powerful weapon that he's got. But we've seen that the Hulk can be beaten. We've seen that his skin can be punctured. You know, I reckon it would be the equivalent of him just getting clocked in the head with Mjolnir, because Thor belts him in Avengers with Mjolnir and sends him flying through the side of a plane, through the sides of a plane. And he still gets up from that. And yet Thanos, he has a 5-second fight with him, and Thanos knocks him out, basically.
I will point out that is basically just to get Hulk out of... That's to get him out of the picture. Because
I think they did that quite cleverly, because they basically just went, oh, you know, Hulk, he's been the absolute, you know, he's the last line of defense. You call him in and he'll rinse everyone.
Yeah.
And then you start your film with him just getting fucking belted, knocked out, and you're just like, oh, okay, so this guy, he hasn't even got all of the powers of the universe yet. He hasn't got his Captain Planet rings. And he can still kick the shit out of that guy completely on his own and take a beating from him.
Because in the comics, there's like 3 or 4 people, I can't remember all off the top of my head, but there's 3 or 4 people Thanos openly says he will avoid confrontations with them. And Hulk is one of them, but he does say that Hulk's like one of the few people that he's scared of. The PA930 2K HDR webcam from Papalook is a phenomenal camera, offering excellent visual quality at a very affordable price. The PA930 looks great with a grey fabric design covering the front of the device with a fixed focused wide angle 90-degree lens. The quality is outstanding for a $69.99 camera, offering a range of different resolutions including 1080p 60 frames a second up to 2560 by 1440p 30 frames a second, and there's a handy little frame rate switcher at the top of the camera allowing you to swap between 30 frames and 60 frames per second on the fly. Visit podcastversusplayer.com/review to see our full review and check out the PA930 via the links provided. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah,
and then
for good reason, because like he's
that's why he's called the Unstoppable Incredible.
The more you piss him off,
the stronger he gets.
Theoretically, the stronger he should become. So unless you can wipe him out in 3 or 4 seconds, it's like the Hulkbuster fight.
Yeah,
like you know that thing is just absolutely caning this guy, and he still managed. Like he had to drop a building on him and shoot him with rockets and drop him from like 200 stories in the air and then after that hit him as hard as he can whilst flying through the air in like a 3-ton robot suit or something like that. That's a lot of effort to go to knocking someone out. So, like, we haven't really seen Iron Fist really do anything. Like, I know that the Netflix shows aren't really connected with it anymore, but I think it would be he'd power it up and he'd crack him one, and he would just sort of, it would be like Ragnarok, like when he fights Thor and Thor just smacks him.
Yeah.
And he goes down, but then he gets back up. I reckon it would just be that. I don't think it would be enough to just fully KO him.
Yeah.
But I would like to see like these like absolute superpowers, like so the Fist of Iron Fist, Captain Marvel, like versus the Hulk. Like I want to see them just sort of like Tekken style 1-on-1, and I just want to see, right, how are you writing this show? Like, who should we know they are the absolute top bar? Because then if anyone beats them, then we know that fuck they're.
That's where some of the writing falls down, because you've got Hulk throughout all of the films. He's proven to be the strongest there is. Minor discrepancies with some of the fights with Thor and whatnot, but for the most part, this is their.
But Thor is still that's not a mean feat. Like that guy literally took the power of a sun and didn't kill him, and like he's he turns up in like fucking what is it, Infinity War.
Yeah,
like he pops in, and then all of Thanos' guys are like, right,
let's get out
see
of
in a bit, and they all just do one. He's just like, no, electrocute everybody. Like he's an unstoppable, dangerous man.
Prior to that, though, Thor's go-to thing was like, Thor and Loki, like their go-to thing was we've got a Hulk. Like never mind, we've got me. We've got a Hulk. But then Thanos batters the Hulk immediately. Fast forward in the film, and he goes to when he's trying to hit Steve Rogers, and he's just holding his fucking gauntlet, and obviously Thanos is taken aback by how strong Captain America is. So, by that logic, Captain America managed to stop a punch from Thanos with all of the Infinity Stones but one.
A splat.
Well, yeah, he was trying to squash him, but Thanos only had 1 or 2 stones at the beginning, and he was only missing 1 at the end.
He only had. Yeah, because I think he'd gotten 2 from the Collector, hadn't he? Yeah. So maybe he did have 2 at that point. But either way, he didn't use them. He didn't use them to like crush him down or turn him into a thing.
No. But he's got the Power Stone and everything by that point.
Yeah, but he's not using those. He's not using those gems,
aren't they? When it's on, it's just not.
It's when he closes his fist and does a thing. That's when it. That's when it works.
It closed because Rogers has got hold of his fist.
No, he's got hold of his hand. He's like holding his hand like that.
No, it's a fist.
He's holding his hand open. He's got like one hand on his thumb and one hand on like his little finger or his middle finger.
Yeah, to stop him from doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
then he just lifts his hand up and just goes bonk, and then he's gone.
Yeah, he does it with a different one. He hits him with his other fist.
Well, I'd like to see like Iron Fist hit Mjolnir at the same like those concussion waves that they make like when he hits Cap shield and it like makes a shockwave. Yeah. What would that look like?
I'd like to see.
Would it just break his arm or?
Mjolnir and Iron Fist are coming together as Captain America's shield comes through the middle, and they just go.
I think that's how you make black holes.
And it destroys the world.
It just, and then everything just breaks. Yeah.
And then it's the
film stops.
#, release the Snyder Cut. We're like, wait, what? This has already happened.
Oh my God! It's broken every universe.
Well, I'd like to see it. I don't think we're going to get a new Iron Fist because obviously we're getting this movie now, and I think this.
Well, I think if Shang-Chi knocks it out of the park, we'd have no real reason for.
That's what I mean. This would be the equivalent of having Iron Fist in.
Unless this sets it up, so this would be he went to Kunlun and trained with whatever, or some mention of the Iron Fist, not necessarily Danny Rand Iron Fist. Like it could be any of them, I guess. But I don't know. I suppose the only thing that would really kind of answer that the sort of the future of would be Doctor Strange, because like what is that going to do?
Yeah,
is that going to bring us the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? Is it going to get that Tom Holland Spider-Man film with the more like how is all that going to work? I think that when you're talking about your weird shit dimension powers, that's the one where all of these possibilities are going to come from.
Yeah.
But I think Shang-Chi is just going to be a great origin, because I want to see him
film.
go into like one of these battles where it's like, Cap and Black Panther and stuff, and they're just sort of like, leaping around and throwing dudes around. I want to see someone like that go in. He can just go one-on-one and just clear a massive path through them and just batter everybody. Have you seen Kung Fury?
Yeah.
When Kung Fury's fighting all the Nazis, and he's just doing like flips and shit, and they're all going like, that's what I imagine like a massive battle with him, and it would be. He'd just be going around, and he'd just be like a cartoon. They'd just be fist swinging, and then just bodies just flying out everywhere. That's
what I really like about the look of it. That it looks very like the old like Japanese like karate, like your Bruce Lee's and stuff, where the
one punch you out.
Yeah, and it's very it's very stylized, and it looks a bit silly because it's like a ridiculous jump through the air and stuff that's like not possible in real life. But it makes the films like really magical, and I really like the stylized aspects of it, and I like that this is doing that. Like Mulan did it to a similar extent on like the Disney Plus version of it, just nowhere near as much as I think they should have done. I think it would have made it a lot better. But this looks...
It's kind of like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, so you've got like these really like incredibly over-the-top fight sequences that aren't super technical in terms of like not explosions and stuff, just the fact that somebody's jumped in the air, managed to kick someone, do a fucking front flip, turn it in the air, kick another guy, and then spin and then land on the ground, and they haven't got superpowers. It's just they're just that. It's all about the chi and all that stuff, and it fits with those kind of films. And I really like that. That's kind of it still looks like a superhero movie, but this looks like an MCU film that Jackie Chan made, where you've got all these really like just some of the mannerisms of how he's saving some of the people, like the example with the girl on the bus, where it's like fight, grab, pull back, fight, and it just looks real cool. And I take it back what I said. Like I say on the original one, I wasn't looking forward to this movie at all, really. And then now I want to see this definitely more than Venom. But
I definitely agree with. But I think that I think I know what I'm gonna. I'm reasonably so. I know what I'm going to get from Black Widow. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be a cool espionage kind of, with his first meeting with Hawkeye for sure. But we know that no, she's not going to die in it. It's cool to see Taskmaster, but there's not going to be any Infinity Stone stuff. There's not going to be any oh my god, where's this going to go sort of thing. So I think it will be a bit by the numbers, but I think it will still be a good, solid action film. Doctor Strange is going to. The only thing I'm really looking forward to for that is going to be, it's going to be a mindfuck. It's going to be, are we going to get the Fantastic Four from this? Are we going to get the X-Men from this? Like, what is going to happen? How are they going to introduce that? That to me seems like a logical choice. Yeah. Whereas this one was just sort of like, it's going to be like a martial arts film, 10 Rings. We've kind of already had a bit of that in Iron Man 3.
I do like that. That's what they've decided to do. Obviously, Mandarin, instead of having the rings on his hand, he's got the bracelets now. And
I don't know how quite they're gonna, because they're all different things as well.
I'm guessing it's because obviously we've just had the Infinity Gauntlet,
which is on your hands.
Rings go on your hands, so I think it's a good style choice for it. It's not going to change it dramatically in terms of powers and stuff, is it?
No, I mean I did see something the other day that sort of it was a list of what each of the rings actually does, and it's not even just sort of this one's fire and this one's ice and this one's wind and this one's whatever. They're really specific. One's mind control, and there's a bunch of them, and I can't quite remember them all basically. But I want to see someone with that level of power fight just
Thanos.
like a normal. I don't know. I just like the idea of just a proper martial artist who could just come in and just fucking wipe the floor with people. Suits or no suits, powers or no powers. Doctor Strange can do all of his magic shit, but if you come in and just belt him hard enough in the face, he's out.
Yeah. I mean, they had.
because they can't just set him up as like a ground level sort of like he can just sort of tackle street thugs, but that's about it.
He's not the real Mandarin. It was Ben Kingsley all along.
That would be awesome. Like if it was Ben Kingsley and it was like, actually, I wasn't. I was the Mandarin the whole time, and then this actual Mandarin turns up and just explodes him, and it's just like, no, I'm the Mandarin.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I am really looking forward to. I'm very much looking forward to Black Widow. Obviously, we got Loki starting next week, as we discussed.
We've had MODOK start last week.
MODOK, yeah.
Before.
It's been a pretty. Oh, I watched Cruella at the weekend.
Oh, did you?
I did. Good? It's pretty good. Yeah, it's.
Is it worth a watch then? Yeah.
I liked it, but it's Emma Stone, so you know me and Emma Stone.
Favoritism.
We go way back, but I really enjoyed it. It's put it this way, I'm not a very big fan of 101 Dalmatians cartoon or the live action movies, and I really enjoyed this. So take of that what you will. I think it's better than Mulan.
Interesting.
And I think it was it was way better than Raya and the Last Dragon.
That I haven't seen either. If I'm honest. You did put me off a little bit with that.
What really annoyed me is the trailer for Raya looked like something genuinely very cool and kind of like a Mulan-esque movie that wasn't going to be about Disney princesses and this, that, and the other. And then what we got was, don't trust a book by its cover. Don't not trust strangers. Basically, everything you teach your kids. That's what Raya and the Last Dragon is, and it's all about people being nice to each other and shit. And there's not, even though the trailer makes out that there's like a lot of cool like martial art style action, there's not. And you might like it. I didn't like Moana, and some people have likened it
I
to
really
that.
fucking like Moana.
So you might like it.
But like Soul, I watched again the other day.
I enjoyed Soul.
And I think the more I watch that, the more I like it. Where it's just sort of like, this guy who he's just got his big break and he doesn't want to die, and then he's sort of partnered with like an unborn fetus soul or something. Who's just like, I don't want to get to Earth. Like it's fucking mad down there. I don't want any part of that. And it's just sort of like it's really cool, kind of look at like just cynicism and fuck life, and I thought that for a film that didn't come out in the cinema, which I don't know if I would have expected that to come out in the cinema anyway, but things like Raya and the Last Dragon, and there's a new thing with like, what's it called? I can't remember. It's like mermaids, like mermen sort of thing in it. It's like the next one they're coming out with. It's called like Lucas or something. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. I saw a poster thing the other day. I'm not sure. I haven't seen a trailer or anything for it though.
Yeah, I don't quite know what they're doing with that, but I think that they've been there's been a couple of, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because they're trying to get stuff out on the streaming platform rather than make it these big sort of movie releases, but they seem to be getting out quite a few more than I would have expected.
I mean, like Cruella, that's gone to that came out the cinema. Then they did like you can watch it at the cinema today or watch it on Disney Plus Access Premiere, whatever it's called. Black Widow's the same.
Well, I think like Shang-Chi, I think they said, Eternals, sorry.
Yeah, that's going straight to cinema, not Disney Plus.
Yeah, that was just like at cinemas only. I was like, fuckers. Because that looks...
It's the first big
I don't know
MCU
what
film
to make of that, because that is just... It looks like it's... Because I watched... After watching the trailer for that, it made me go and watch The Old Guard. That Netflix film with Charlize Theron. Because I was just like, that's kinda, yeah.
I liked it, but I felt it could have been
I watched
better.
that, and then I watched Extraction afterwards, and I was like, yeah, this is way better.
Good film, that is.
But Eternals, though, just looks like this is just like a whole new... This isn't the MCU you used to. Like, I'm really quite looking forward to what that will open up.
I'm more interested in Eternals for what potential... Like, I think going through... I think, obviously, we are going to see, like, pieces from the past and different time periods and stuff. Like potentially we might see a young Thor, something like that.
Or a young
Potentially.
Thanos.
Are we going to see Thanos? Yeah. Like, have the team already been split and the one portion of them have gone to Titan, or are we going to see that in this movie? Are we going to see?
I would love to see it if Thanos was like a part of this original Eternals lineup, and then they kind of sort of split up over the years because of ideology, like their ideologies kind of split apart, and then obviously, as with any new thing that you introduce, it's like, where have you been when half the universe was snapped away?
Yeah.
Where have you been when all the alien shit was going
maybe these
on?
all got caught up in the snap.
Maybe all of them, but I'd be more likely to believe that they just sort of went, we've done all this team shit for a while, like we've helped humanity, and then we've all just buggered off and done our own thing.
They do say that they don't get involved in humanity's affairs and this, that, and the other. Whilst the trailer shows you them tending to helping farmers grow crops and stuff.
Yeah, here's how you make machines and things. Yeah. Maybe they got a bit of a stern talking to by the Watchers. They were just like, look, guys.
Also,
you're creating a civilization here. You shouldn't be doing that.
What Celestials created them? Because up to now we've only had one in the MCU.
What? Nowhere.
Yeah, you see. Obviously, you got the Eternals were created by the Celestials, as were the Deviants, but we haven't really had any. With the exception, like through the Guardians and stuff, we haven't had much of.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of. Like with the head.
Of a presence. Yeah, I mean, technically, what's his face? Star-Lord to an extent, but
is Ego a Celestial?
I'm pretty sure he goes Celestial.
Oh, okay, cool.
Might have to double check that. Might have to double check that one, but I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, because that could just be a throwaway line. Do you know who it could be that was quite line up quite nicely? Galactus. Now, I don't know if Galactus is a Celestial, but I reckon that you could shoehorn him into that position quite well.
Yeah, he is.
What Galactus is?
No, the living planet is a celestial body and
he
has
is
got
celestial
powers to create life. Yeah. Oh no, but then Ego isn't a celestial.
Okay, well that's just contradicted what you just said. What are you on about?
Hollywood Reporter says he is. Cura says he's not.
Right. Okay.
From Marvel.
I'm just looking at Galactus.
Because that's where I've got it from. Because in Guardians 2, he calls himself a Celestial, and because that's where I've got it from. And that's what it says here.
Maybe they just, I don't know, maybe they just used the term but didn't actually think it was going to follow through. No. But Galactus, I thinking about it, I've always been aware of who he is because of like Fantastic Four and comics and games and whatever, not the fucking Silver Surfer film. But he was alive in the previous universe. So like, like with the universe expanding, contracting. So he was around in the original universe. Then this universe was born, and then he popped through in that.
Like a little madhead. Anyway, we've been going for nearly 2 hours.
I was trying to see if it said like specifically like, oh, he's a Celestial, the same as blah blah blah. But I don't think. Oh, Thor learns of Galactus' origins when the entity comes in conflict with Ego, the living planet. So potentially, there's some sort of world-eating, devastating monster man.
Just an absolute shitlord.
And he looks like a lot of the Celestials that we've seen in Guardians already.
Yeah.
I think if they just said, well, this version of Galactus, he's a Celestial, the same as the others, so that's how we could bring him through, and then inevitably creates the Fantastic Four or something. I don't know.
Got to be something there,
I think Eternals will be quite good at opening up what that next section of the MCU is going to look like, but I don't think that Black Widow or Shang-Chi will. They're going to be very...
No, I think they're going to be self-contained, and obviously Black Widow's... this is all happened in the past anyway, so we're not going to get anything new, unless they're planning on making any solo films or bringing in any of the characters into later films or something like that. But I'm not going to be expecting any massive revelations. Potentially her sister may become the new Black Widow or something. Don't know, but
maybe. But again, never mentioned, never seen before. Then, you know, she could always show back up in that Hawkeye show. If Hawkeye meets her and her sister in the past, and then Hawkeye has his own show, he's doing his Kate Bishop stuff, but then she's like, yeah, I think you were there, like when my sister killed herself. What the fuck?
I need some work. I've got some work if you want some. Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cash in hand.
There's some good stuff coming up.
There is. Very looking forward to it. But we are gonna wrap it up there because we're coming up, encroaching that 2-hour mark. But you know, we've had a lot to catch up on. It's been a
well. There's that, and I think there's probably a lot more that we've missed. Did we talk about Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the last one.
Did we talk about Godzilla vs Kong?
Definitely, we did an entire podcast on it.
Banging. Okay, I think those are the only big sort of like standouts.
I don't know about you, Dan, but I've missed our podcast, and I've missed
no
you
headache
in general.
Currently. Thanks, man.
So we'll get some more stuff done this week. Not sure what.
Well, what I'm thinking is as well, mate, with vaccinations all being just about done, because I'm getting mine done this week. You and so have already had yours done. Lockdown restrictions have already been.
The first one anyway. We've still got your second jab to go.
I know, but that's in like 2 months or something, isn't it?
August.
But things are kind of returning back to normal-ish. I say we make some plans and get together and do some bloody retro shenanigans and all that good stuff that we do together.
It's been a long time coming, but we'll sort all that out. We probably won't organise it on the podcast. We'll just let you know when it's going to be.
Why not? This hasn't been long enough.
Who asked me what's orange and yellow would look good on James Corden? Fire. Who asked me what do you call a man with a rubber toe? Roberto. Who was checking in for a flight and was asked, window or aisle? And he said, window or you'll do what? Who asked me why mathematicians never constipated? They can always work it out with a pencil. Who failed his Greek mythology exam last week? He thinks his lack of revision was his Achilles elbow. Who asked me why is Mickey Mouse's helicopter no use in Scotland? Disneyland. Who entered his chihuahua in the ugliest dog contest and he won first place? The dog came third.